All right, coming off one of our better performances last week as a team. There's been times this year we played pretty good in some areas, but I thought that was our best effort, especially on defense. We tackled well, and we looked like that we knew what we were doing on the run and the pass. There's been times we've been confused on one or the other most of the year, but this was truly a good effort where we got lined up. We took care of our assignments. There was a lot of early in the game of quarterback option attack where you had to take the quarterback or the dive guy, and we did a good job of getting lined up and playing our angles and doing a good job tackling an open field, something that we'll see for the next 2 weeks. Offensively, it wasn't one of our better games. We we had good pass protection. We seemed to hold on the ball too long. Gunner didn't release the ball. Our timing was off a little bit, and that's something we'll work on this week. But overall, very good effort. This week, Temple is a interesting team. If they had a couple of breaks, they'd had 8 or 9 wins. They've got 5 wins, and they've earned them all. They played everybody very close. They're very strong defensively. Got very good team speed. They play very good technique, and they played everybody very close. And almost every game has gone into the fourth quarter with Temple. They live and die off of turnovers. They're very quick. They create a lot of pressure to the quarterback on blitz, and their defensive backs play very good man coverage. So it'll be a tough assignment for our offense. We've got to be on our game. We've got to have a better idea of what we're doing going into this game than we did last week, and we've got to have more of a sense of urgency. Defensively, I can remember last year this quarterback that starts for him, it was his first start, and he was all over the field. We had a tough time tackling him. Everybody's had a tough time tackling him ever since he started playing, and hadn't been any different this year. He's made big plays in the pocket, out of the pocket. He'll run the football. He's gotten to be a better passer. He has had a little bit of a problem throwing interceptions when he's gotten out of the pocket. I'm sure that's one thing that they're working on. But, the thing about him is he is a big play guy, and he does a good job of throwing boots, getting a lot of depth, throwing the ball deep, and making big plays. So, that being said, we can't go in and think we're going to change a bunch of things for him, but, we got to try to keep him in the pocket, make sure he understands that he's got to throw the ball on time, and we got to play good man and zone coverage. We can't go in and think that we can live and die off one thing. It'll be a long night for our defensive line trying to contain him and trying to keep him in front of them and making sure that he doesn't get out of the pocket where they can throw to a guy that breaks their routes and gets deep down the field, because that's how they've scored a lot of their touchdowns. But going to Philadelphia on Saturday, Thanksgiving, is I think going to be a treat for our guys. They're looking forward to going. They like playing on natural grass. This is a grass field. They enjoyed playing at Miami and played last week at Connecticut. So I think we play pretty fast on grass, and so it'll be a huge challenge for us. We've got 5 in a row. Hopefully it wasn't, as I said last week, it just wasn't lights out for us. Although we did win the ball game 41-0, it wasn't one of our better efforts in the last 5 games. So it's not like we're coming off of a tremendous outing that we looking forward. Possibly having a letdown. There won't be any letdown. This will be 2 of our toughest contests coming up back to back in the next 2 weeks. So this thing's coming to an end. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's fired up, ready to go. We actually even had a walkthrough yesterday. We normally don't practice on Mondays, but we gave them off Sunday, so we had a walkthrough yesterday. And looking forward to getting back to the practice field today and have some contact and start working on our game plan. Questions?
Just how different is the vibe right now, Coach, about the team when you start to rattle off games and you're in the mix of the conference and have a chance to win a championship? Looking back 5-6 weeks ago compared to now, I gotta think it's a big difference.
Yeah. It is a team sport. In this room, as we speak, you have defense on one side, offense on the other, and those groups have to work well together. They have to believe in each other. There has to be confidence that the offense, can trust the defense is stopping them and getting the ball back for them, and vice versa, scoring more points. And I think that's what we've had in here the last 5 or 6 weeks is guys that are starting to understand and believe in everybody else. Everybody was kind of pointing fingers, and that's what happens when you lose games. Not that we didn't play some pretty good teams when we lost. We actually played some pretty decent football, but it wasn't enough to get us a win. And we had to, for us to win, everybody's got to be on their best game and play well, and then of course trust the other guy next to you. So I think there's a lot more confidence here team-wise between everybody, and understanding that it takes everybody to win a game.
Was Gunner totally healthy? It seemed like he threw behind a lot of the receivers and then went out of the game to the locker room early in the third period.
Yeah, he got beat up a little bit. He got hit a couple of times, and he felt good at the beginning of the game. Again, you got to remember, it's pretty cold. It's pretty cold the week before, cold during the week. Quarterbacks have to be loose. They've got to feel like they can handle the ball and step into their throws and all those things. And Gunner just didn't look like Gunner in that game. Not that he was injured. He wasn't really injured. I mean, he got banged around some, but his ribs and everything are 100%. It's just that, it's just one of those nights. He threw off his back foot some. He had all time in the world, and I think sometimes he believes in his offensive line too much to where he waits and holds the ball too long. That's what happened on the first interception. We were open. He thought he was going to wait a little bit longer, maybe get a little farther open, threw the ball late, and the DB jumped it. So it's a learning experience. Gunner is still learning. He's every week he learns something different. He's not near as proficient as he can be. He'll get better and better. Hopefully these last few games he has learned enough to understand that some things that you can't do every game. Now he's getting ready to see two of the better defenses in our league, and so this will be a challenge for him and the receivers and our offensive line. We'll see all kind of different things from both defenses. This week, last year, we had some trouble with the linebackers from Temple. Those guys were good, and they're all back, and they do a good job of playing the run, playing the pass, playing the zone, playing man coverage. So this will be interesting. I'm anxious to see how we stack up against two of the better teams in our league defensively the next couple of weeks.
Gunner's been fairly effective running the ball too. How much of that is by design? How much of that is him reading something when he runs the ball?
No, I think that's part of his progression of learning. You just can't sit there and say you're going to throw every time you got a route call that it's going to work perfectly, and they're going to be in a defense where you can take advantage of. Sometimes we get covered, and he's going to have to pull the ball down and run it. I think there was a couple of times the other night that he actually tried to force the ball, and he should have ran the ball 10 or 12 yards and just slid and gone back to the huddle. I think he's learning more and more of that. He did it the other night. I think he made 2 or 3 runs that were pretty good. And we tell him, take what they give you, but, there's no reason to take a lick. I mean, you can slide and get the ball down, get back in the huddle, and take what they give you, because if you take those, it'll make everything else a little bit easier. But if you don't run the ball when they give you an opportunity, then, and they know they can stay in coverage, then you're going to have problems. So Gunner's got to do his role too. He's got to go through his progression, and if they give you something, take it and go back to huddle, and what you get will make it easier on the next play.
You had the game obviously well in hand in the second half. But what did you see from your defense in terms of them trying to get the shutout? How important was it for them to get that good start?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing on the sideline second half. Once we got the first touchdown, we go 34-0. We started subbing, and you can just hear the older guys talking to the younger guys about, hey, you're not going in there just to play. You're going in there to play like we played. We want the shutout because they're hard to get, and that's good. You start building that attitude towards what you do, not just winning, but how many points you give up, how you're tackling. Again, I thought that was the most physical game that we played on defense. Granted, they were having problems in terms of figuring out what they wanted to do with a quarterback. They played 3 quarterbacks, but they had done the same thing against Central Florida and scored, 34 points. So it was good to see us rally and guys start building their own reputation as the type of players that they want to be. And we tackled. I mean, there were games early in the year where we talked about missed tackles, and that's all we talked about because that's all we had to talk about. And now we've really cut back on them. Ever since I would say the Tulane game, we have tackled much better, and I think it's because we're learning just alignments and assignment. Guys are more comfortable where they're at, and they're able to really play faster. And when you can play faster, that means you tackle a lot better because you're running full speed.
With Moore and Boone in the backfield, can you talk about what each of them kind of brings to the running game and how they complement what you're trying to do?
I keep asking Eddie. I say, which one's a starter? Of course, he's playing Rod because he's older, and he's a little bit better in pass protection. But there's times, I like to see Mike out there. Mike brings a little bit different mentality, but I tell you, I think Mike has made Rod pick his game up because Rod has actually played better, played faster. He breaks more tackles, and we're more of a threat in the running game on the second level with these running backs than we were with Jose and Tion because they got to the line of scrimmage, might make 3 or 4 yards and get tackled, and it's 3rd and 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 6. Well, these kids, if they break the line, you're not going to tackle them. They're going to make somebody miss on the second level, and that's what you got to do. And but I talked with Eddie on the sideline about let's get Mike in there a little bit more. But it's working what we're doing, so we don't want to upset the apple cart, and let both of them just run, and both of them can catch. Their screens are very good. The only difference I would say right now is Rod's a little bit farther along protection-wise, with a quarterback on pass. Now, but Mike's gotten so much better, and Mike's very physical, which you have to be at a running back at their size to block linebackers and defensive ends. When they're called to protect the quarterback.
Well, Rod, you moved him to defensive back last year. Can't remember what was the reason for that again, and why did you move him back to running back again? Can you just review that?
We didn't have any defensive backs. We were absolutely. When you've got to move a running back over, that means we had starters basically like we've had, but we didn't have any backups. And throughout the season, we knew that Rod was going to be like a 5th-team running back, and Rod had played a little bit of corner in junior college, and we were just preparing for a disaster, And Rod actually played some and played pretty good at DB. But when we got a couple of these young guys in here this year, we were able to move him back, and his attitude's been a lot. But it was good. He was good. He wanted to go over and help the team, and he did that. And it's going to take us another year till we get more depth at all positions where we don't have to do that with guys.
You see using Mike in a direct snap situation further up the field?
Yeah, we could. That was just something that they saw on film that we thought it would work, and it worked twice. They called us once for holding, which a little bit shaky on that one, but they call it. But what that does, it gives you somebody that takes a direct snap that's much faster, and they're not used to that, and so it just knocked their tempo off a little bit. But he and Shaq both give probably more of Shaq out in open field because you got more of an offense. Shaq can throw the ball, played quarterback in high school, and Mike's just a running back. He is a true Wildcat guy, more like a Llewellyn last year who he could throw the ball, but he was more of a lumber guy that was just going to lumber up and make 4 or 5 yards.
So you have a guy that was supposed to be redshirted, and you have another guy who was a defensive back last year, and now your running game
Is better. Who would have thought? But it's given us something that we didn't have, and that's better running game on first down. Instead of getting 2 or 3 yards, there's times we're getting 7, 8, 10, 15, 20, and that opens your passing game up. Your running game helps your passing game, and your passing game helps your running game. The problem is we were struggling first of the year to get 100 yards a game. Now, cause we 200 yards a game in the last 5 games, maybe. I'm talking about average over the last 4 or 5. 240. We rush for 240. We'll win a lot of games. I think that's the whole key to offense is you got to be able to run the football.
You talked about the difficulty of this schedule for you this year. Some of the difficulty is this unbalanced schedule where you've got a team like Tulane that's played got a team like Memphis that has only played 2 of the teams in the top 5. Of course, they're one of those teams, but how much of an effect does that have on everyone else when you have such a different strength of schedule in the league?
Yeah, well, I'm going to defend our conference office a little bit first. You know, we're 11. What are we? 11 teams. We're 1 team away, which will have Navy next year, and then we'll have a conference affiliation on both sides. You know, I don't know whether we're calling it Northwest or East, and you know, whatever. But there's really no rhyme or reason why we played the schedule we played this year. You know, everybody should have played everybody, and not had a non-conference schedule if we were going to play it like we did, because it's really unfair. But you don't know who's good or whatever. You have no thought about, you know, who's going to be the stronger team. So I'm sure they just picked out some teams and went with it.
Did you get an explanation? I mean, this is the second year in a row you didn't play Central Florida, and Cincinnati and Central Florida were 2 of the best teams last year, didn't play each other, and then they come back this year and the 2 teams don't play each other.
Yeah, no, we didn't. You know, we're too far down the food chain to get an explanation on that. But Central Florida and us, we need to be playing. You know, we need to be playing there because we recruit down there. We want to play them, and of course they're going to be on our side now, so we'll play them every year. They'll be on our side of the conference. Us and South Florida and East Carolina. It's going to be a tough side of the conference.
How much is the conference championship a motivating factor for this team?
Yeah, that's what you know, that was all these guys' goal. You know, they wanted to have an opportunity and win the championship, and it's still out there. We won't win it. It depends on what happens, but you know, we can control our own destiny, one on the road and one at home. And we hadn't talked about it much, you know, after the slow start. I mean, there's no reason to put more pressure on anybody than you need to, but they can kind of see everything in front of them now. But it's going to be a hard 7 days. We'll play Temple and then turn around next week and play Houston, and we'll find out a lot more about this team in those 7 days.
Next year, will the league have to have everyone finished by the end of November?
Have what?
Have everybody finished with their regular 12 games?
Mm-hmm.
Because for the last 2 years, you played the first weekend in December with the other conference championship games. So with you having a conference championship game, you'll all have to be done at the end of November, right?
Everybody will have to be done this week, and then the championship game will be next week. Everybody will be finished. And one thing I don't like about it is last year and this year we missed a week of recruiting. The first week is your most valuable when we had coaches that would leave and go out and then come back for practice and get ready for Louisville. And, you know, it's just hard. But you'll sacrifice that if you're in the championship game, obviously. But for just us to have a regular season game at the end of the year and some teams not, it's really not fair because you lose that week because recruiting stops December the 15th. And next Monday, everybody that doesn't have a game gets to start going out and visiting recruits. Well, we've got a game. And so we've only got 1 week to recruit in December, and then you don't recruit for 30 days. I mean, it's a different deal. I wish they'd pass a deal. If you were in the championship game, you get another week after everybody else, you know, gets that first week. But they won't do that.
How will they determine the place for that championship game? Will it be a neutral site?
I'm sure it'll be neutral site. Pardon? Yeah. Highest ranked team on campus. First year, they might eventually put it somewhere.
Unrelated, what will the Army-Navy game looks to be played a week later then?
Army-Navy.
Yeah, I mean, with Navy in the league,
Yeah, that's
my question is.
You know, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that because they,
Game after the conference championship?
yeah, I guess they would because that's a heck of a lot more important. You know, that's tradition there. They're not going to cancel that game. Yeah.
But they could move it up.